Okay, so if you come across that fault on a Record STA20 slider, I've been testing, I've been monitoring that fault for over a year, possibly a year and a half now. So if you've got a setup like we've got, it's a Record STM20, STA20 wired with BEA sensors, DT1s or DT3s. Pretty standard setup. The BEA sensors are bulletproof. We all like them for a reason. They're stable, they're user-friendly, engineer-friendly, and yes, so far we've seen that recurrent fault. It's a sneaky, and the trends of it is it's quite an awkward one to actually pinpoint or to identify, for the reason that you could wire your sensors the right way as a daisy chain, like BEA recommends and Record recommends. It would work for days, for weeks. There's no trend here that would help us to pinpoint the exact issue. I've got my own instinct. We'll come to that in a bit. So first thing you could do, obviously after checking the wiring, which most of the time has been done right, is, so by the way, after raising that issue with Record, that's what they came up with as a solution, which really, yes, is solve it, but it's not a sustainable solution, because the fault, in my opinion, would reappear. So you just continuously press I, until you see software reset, and press yes, and then you are resetting the controls. Most of the times it will cure the issue, but on that occasion it does not on mine. Now the next step would be to turn off the power, obviously remove the battery connector as well, and back on. That would be another way to reset the controls or wherever. What I've noticed is when you reset the controls with through that process, for some reason it actually reset. I think it performs a real reset rather than turning off the power back on. Does not perform a real reset, because I've had some other issues in the past where by turning off the power back on, it would not solve the issue, but that reset through with the BDD would. So which makes me think that in the hierarchy of the actual reinitiation, what the actual process resets, well, that reset perform a real reset. When turning off the power back on would as well, but not effectively perform a reset. So next step, I'm going to turn off the power. Right, so I'm not teaching you how to do that. Remove the kettle lead, remove the battery connector, wait 5-10 seconds and reconnect the battery connector, and then the kettle lead. Now we kind of soft reset it that way, and we're going to check if we still have the fault. It's interesting. I've just obviously reinstated the power to the door twice. The first time it didn't clear the fault. For some reason it cleared the SIS defective, which is the threshold sensors test fault, So that cleared the SIS defective fault, but not the SIO defective fault, which is the side screen sensors. That was the first time I've turned off the power. The second time I was turning off the power, it cleared both. So again, as you can see, there's no logic behind it. Some of the doors, a simple reset the control through the BDD would work. It didn't work on my case. So I've got another. Well, I haven't tried it yet, and that's the point of this video. Let's, as a community in the automatic door industry, let's just work on it and trying to find a solution. I still believe that from my own research and own tests, which is not coming to a conclusion yet, but my instinct would want to lead to hiccup in the software on the STM side of things. Well, actually, funny enough, oh no, sorry. So that's just because I'm on the sensor, so you see me, so that's fine. That's just a status error. It's nothing to do with the test itself, so that's good. My instinct is, or my guts are telling me that the hiccup and the issue would come from the software from Record themselves. The BD, the actual DT ones are doing the job. However, what you could do, and I haven't tried it yet because we are in communication with BEA at the minute, and they've been very responsive, in my opinion. They came up with that small device, which is called a smart daisy chain kind of device, the SDC hub, right? So essentially, what you would do is, so you've got the pre-wired cable for the DT ones, and all your sensors, you'd have, unfortunately, you need two of them, one for the side screen and one for the thresholds. But what would be useful to see is if you wire the DT ones onto that hub essentially will make the job for the the door controller, and hopefully, but only future will tell, the signal for the test going to the controller will be simplified for the Record STA20 controller to process it. Hopefully it will eradicate that fault, because at the minute I probably believe that wiring the sensors as a daisy chain, and now that's where my drawing coming to place, by wiring the sensors in a daisy chain, it might just cause a bit too much delays in response in our handshake between the sensors and the controller. Essentially, all it does, the controller asks to the sensor, "Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm okay." Now you can work. And that every cycle. That's the handshake. The only way to do the handshake is to. Long story short, there's no magical solution to that issue. So you could either use that hub, but you need two of them, and test it that way, just to see whether the hub doing all the work to process the test, and then send a simple signal to the controller might help out. But only time and effort will tell whether that works. Or that's another thing I've been thinking. Instead of wiring your sensors as a daisy chain, so essentially Record and BEA recommend to wire the side screen sensor together as a daisy chain and utilize only one input for the safety. I would actually recommend to start to do that as a test purpose, just to see if it help out. My logic behind it is, would daisy chain wiring not cause too much delay? Obviously, in an ideal world, it should work, or the manufacturers or the doors can process the test fine. But also, what I would say is, many manufacturers out there have got single input for thresholds. One single input, single input for threshold. Two, side screen, they all have their own input. Now, we can do and replicate that on the STM20 because we've got enough auxiliary input. So if you utilize the auxiliary 0 for one side screen sensor. Oh, sorry, I've got it wrong. Only the threshold rate. Okay. So don't mind me. Hang on, I'm going to correct that. Yes, so don't mind me. I was right in the first place. So I had a bit off those moments. So essentially, if you wire side screen sensor 1 onto auxiliary 0, yeah, and then side screen sensor 2 onto auxiliary 01, that's on the STM20 board, and then threshold 1 onto auxiliary 3, and then threshold 2 onto auxiliary 4, which means that now each of the sensors are wired independently to a single input. The importance of that is that now you don't have to wire them in daisy chain. So each sensors could be connected with the sensor. So so one leg of the test, all connected together onto the 0 volts, and then the second leg of the test, all connected together, go into number 10 on the STM board, the test output. So essentially, it probably would simplify the way the test is processed, because that's another suspicion I've got, is that the test processed, or the board processing the test when it's wired as a daisy chain, might just cause issues. Again, the only suspicions. Let's try this format of wiring and let's try that. If it still doesn't work after that, it's a software issue and there's no solution to it. That comes to Record to come up with a solution. But let's try that, and please comment as well to see if that would cure the issue. And that's it. So essentially, just to finish on that, is the test is being performed as a handshake. So communication between the controller and each sensor. So before each cycle, the board asking each sensors, are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. Are you okay? Yes, I'm okay, and so on. Now the door can work, and each cycle it will repeat that process. We talk about milliseconds. The way the handshake is performed is so obviously the 0 volt is connected permanently. Now our 24 volts on the test, it's been basically cuts off for milliseconds, which then change the status for milliseconds of each sensors, and that's how the handshake is performed. Are you okay? By turning that off for milliseconds, and you react, yes, I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay. So this is how it's performed. And I'm thinking, when it's wired as a daisy chain, does this work and does this get processed as well by the STM20? Most other brands out there, those works fine. STM20 with sensors does not communicate properly. I've had the case with Optex sensors as well. So there you go. It was a very long video, but I think well needed for us auto-door engineers who've been coming across that issue, and up to now I haven't found a solution to it. BEA sent us another hub, which essentially I think it's the same one. So it's the multi-sensor hub. You can connect 4 safes or activate or IXIOs. It comes with all the cables for each sensors, and that hub allow you to connect 4 sensors, and then that connector goes onto what do you call it, the controller. But if you look at it, there's only one safety output, which means that you still need 2 hubs to connect side screen sensors on one hub, and then threshold sensor on another hub. But what it does, again, as I was explaining with this one, so that's another hub, but they call that the smart daisy chain. Essentially, I believe that was the old version, that's the new one. You've got other type of a lot more deep switches with parameters to set, but what it does essentially does the same thing. You connect all your sensors onto it, and then he basically do all the work for the controller, and then really simplified the signal. The test signal would be literally just out of these 2 wires going to the board. So I haven't tested yet, but next time we've got the opportunity, we're gonna wire these on and see how he perform, and to see if we still get that SIS SIO defective tests sensor faults with them. And that's it. But I think I'm gonna opt for my previous diagram that I came with, which 1, it's free, and 2, there's less wiring involved. It's simplified everything. 1 input per sensor, and then and then the test, instead of being wired as a daisy chain, which add a layer of complexity in terms of how it's been wired, and how the signal is being processed through the different sensors. It may be one of the reasons why it's having hiccups, but that's it. So guys, by all means, try that type of wiring. I will try myself on the door that we had that cut out today, and then please comment, because it will be useful for everyone else who come across that fault around Europe. Thank you. Bye bye.